Hello folks, what is popping? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hey yo, what up? Welcome to the channel for the first time. Check that out. If you're new, you got told an extra yo, what up? So anyway, yeah, today, no Legion in the P1-3 field at CBR. And CBR, this is the Carson side. It's a pretty low-key four-corner crit. Now, interestingly enough, a couple breaks had stuck earlier in the day. I won't spoil the 2-3 for you or anything like that, but I will say that was a ripper of a race, and I want to spend a little bit more time talking about that one, so that's why I'm doing this one first. But anyway, yeah, we had good results there. I did a lot of watts. I did a lot of work. Did like normalized of 311 or something like that, and I wasn't expecting to end up being anywhere near a sprint finish, and somehow I was. So, but back to this race. I'll talk about the other one later. In this race, we have no Legion, like I said, so my thoughts really here were just kind of that I wanted to like maybe sneak away in something early because people will leave me alone. I'm a Cat 3, like they don't know who I am anyway, so maybe they'll be like, ah, whatever, see you later, dude. And so I was kind of just trying to make sure that I stayed toward the pointy end of the race. And when I was racing this P1-3 field on no fitness, like my initial thoughts were just sitting in and surviving, but then I realized like bike racing is pretty much bike racing kind of across all the categories. It just comes down to like timing and racecraft and everything else. And so I'm learning all that. And as a Cat 3, you know, racing with these guys and putting myself toward the front in the bubble is really important. And that's for like a number of reasons. At least personally, I think that it's really good to sit near these guys in the pack and learn as much as I can. So some of the guys that were here today, just to talk real quick about the major teams. We've got the LABC guys. They have Jason Paez, I believe, is in the green jersey. He's got the most aggressive rider points. Methods to winning guys are here. You see the Ride Bikes Bros squad. Now, the Ride Bikes boys had, like, the sprintiest of squads today. They had, I think, Tolly, Nick Baird, and Rex, who is a road racer. I think the Cat 1 road race state champ. Shout out to him. He's got a sick mullet right now, so that's additional information that you guys need to know. I can't really think of who else right now. Just your usual, like, dudes that are probably way faster than me. You've got Chris Hildreth in here, Guillotine, and Cameron. They're both ripping also. They spend a ton of time on the front. But anyway, let's dive into sort of the race itself, you know, and kind of my experience as a Cat 3, mixing it up with these dudes. Just, like I said, trying to learn as much as I can. And so you'll see, like, I was pretty proud of myself. I had ridden the 2-3 earlier, and I was really toast, so I knew if there was any chance of me doing anything, then it had to be, like, in the first, like, 20 minutes of the race. This is a 75-minute race. That's pretty long, especially long to go around in circles, or, I guess, squares. But, nonetheless, we're doing it. So, yeah, 75 minutes, and let's just kind of see how the early parts of this race play out. Alright, so we're jumping ahead a little bit here, and you can see Spencer, my teammate, is sitting a couple wheels in front of me, and we're squeezing down here to get through the start-finish, but he stays on the gas. So, as you can see up the road, there's like some LABC guys, looks like maybe a Ride Bikes guy. They're stomping pedals, and they're like, they've got it super strung out, and they're kind of going up the road here. And so I'm actually thinking like, okay, cool, like maybe I get to the front here and actually do something instead of hanging out mid-pack. And just as I say that, boom, Spencer comes by me, Levi right here on my right starts slotting up, and I'm like, all right, this might be a good opportunity. Now, we're going to make this left-hander into the headwind. In this headwind section all day, it actually been pretty brutal, but everybody kind of bunched up there. So, you know, I was thinking, well, if Spencer is going to be in a move, I should probably be in the front. Well, that's the difference between, like, a P1-3 race and really any other race is, like, when something's up the road, if it's remotely threatening, people are going to chase it. Now, the big difference that I will say is there was a lot more, like, surging and attacking than when Legion is here or something like that, because they straight up will just, like, sit on the front and drill for a large quantity of the race, which means it's a heck of a lot harder to get away. So in this case, you see like Ride Bikes, doesn't look like they're up the road with that group of 4, and so they're, you know, just sitting on the front drilling. That might be Kyle Cooper, but nonetheless, you know, they don't want that to go anywhere. And I think probably with like 3 of them being sprinters, my guess would be that they would probably want this to come to a sprint today anyway. So, you know, that was kind of some of the early stuff, just mixing it up. I guess it was actually Rex that was helping drag that back. But you could see immediately, like, that's what's cool too is, you know, in a P1-3, people aren't just going to sit up and hang out when something gets brought back. It's like, boom, the counterattack goes. Now, LABC's in it, and I'm pretty sure Spencer, my teammate, is still up the road also. And so you can see, like, LABC's not going to chase this, and then boom. SDBC, Martin, he goes flying up there too. So everybody wants to be represented, and this is the early thing I was talking about, right? And so I'm just trying to kind of like get in the front here and really have any plans to do anything in particular. Like, I'm pedaling pretty like reasonable tempo effort here, just kind of matching the speed of the front. But you see like Chris with Guillotine is not really drilling, and now everybody's like, all right, cool, alarm bells time. And so I think once again Ride Bikes is not in it. And so there's like 2 of them up here in front of me, drill and chase. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to follow these wheels because maybe that puts me in a good position. But dude, I'm honestly, like, I have no heart rate data, but I'm pretty sure it's like actually slammed here because I was dead from earlier racing. And not to mention I did 3.5 hours the day before. And every hour, so once per hour I did 10 minutes of 15 on, 15 off, full gas. So that was fun. But nonetheless, I still wanted to be kind of in this race at least, and even if I didn't like influence it or do anything crazy, it was good to just be here and kind of see how the dynamics of the race are playing out and what people are doing, right? Like, when is it a good time to cover this? When do people panic? When are people actually worried about a move? And when are people like, we don't care about that move? Or, you know, how do people control the race to get themselves represented in that move? And so maybe this wasn't super dynamic, but it's much more dynamic than when Legion's here, and it's just like, okay, you have 6 guys on the front for 75 minutes, cool, it's going to end in a sprint, and it's very likely it's going to be Corey versus, like, a few other dudes. And, you know, everybody loves to see it, it's cool, but this gives, like, me personally an opportunity to learn more about riding in a Pro 1-3 field when they're not there. It's great to see how they ride and learn from how they ride, but it's also good to be able to move up and back in the pack and see when it makes sense, and like in the headwind here, kind of just how to put myself in decent positions throughout the pack and when's the appropriate time to do so. Ironically enough, now would probably be a good time to do so. So, you know, we just brought this move back that was, you know, up the road a little ways, and you could see a couple other guys immediately counter and they go up the road, and I'm like, all right, why don't I go up the road? So everybody's slowing up, and I'm carrying momentum around the outside, and so I kind of get on the gas, and I go really wide here, and I've got the LABC rider, green jersey, on my wheel. I'm like, all right, cool, let's see what we can do here. And so I gas it, but what's crazy about this is, like, when you look back after doing something like that in the P1-3 field, it's just like, dang, I didn't even get any separation, right? I'm used to, like, the good old days of, like, okay, 3 hard pedal strokes, now I've got a gap, and then I just need to, like, settle in and hold it. But it just doesn't exist here, man. You have to, like, throw a haymaker in order to get, like, any kind of separation, especially when, like, there's teams represented up the road. So, learning experience, yeah, not so easy to just hammer on it and say, see you later. So, yeah, slot it back in here, trying not to completely die, but I'm sure my heart rate's definitely not stoked right now. All right, so, you know, fast forwarding a little bit here, I'm still kind of in a good position at the front and still, like, riding pretty strong. And, dude, we're, like, 30 minutes into the race or something, 30 or 40 minutes into the race, I don't even know. But something's kind of starting to form. LABC's up the road, a few other guys, and then, you know, Kyle Cooper, he goes up the road. The methods to winning guy right here kind of sits up and lets his teammate gap. And then this 3HC guy, man, those guys ride so negatively, it drives me insane. He just, like, soft pedals and he's not going to chase it or, like, close us down. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I'll cruise up the road and, like, jump to this. And, I mean, at that point, it's just too saturated, right? Nothing's going to go anywhere like this. It's basically just keeping the Peloton connected. So, sorry for ruining your break, dogs, but, you know, I want to be in it. So, anywho, yeah. Other than that, not a ton happens for me. Like, honestly, I spend, like, the next 15, 20 minutes of the race just, like, up here drilling, trying to just, like, be involved in stuff. And that's what I do. I don't know. Pretty straightforward. I was pretty proud of my, like, overall performance, especially having been absolutely cooked from the day before and this morning's race. I stayed at the pointy end of this whole thing for, like, dude, a long time. And then I think, you know, probably like an hour in, I kind of filter back. But nonetheless, let's just jump ahead to the finish here. Like, you know, it's not all that interesting, but I will at least show you guys, you know, how it shakes out. All right, so we're going to jump way forward here. And this is to, like, you know, minute 73 or something. We're within 1 to go. And something I realized really quickly is, like, you know, in the Pro 1-3 race, especially, like, even with no control, it's basically when you're in a position with like 2 to go, that's kind of where you're at. And, you know, I'm thinking in my head here, I'm like, oh, dude, look, they're kind of slowing up in this headwind. Maybe I can gain some slots. So I'm like hollering at Rich. I'm like, stay on the pedal, Rich. And he does it. What a homie. But, like, dude, look at how many people are in front of me here. I mean, I lost the rear cam. There are not that many people behind me. I mean, I'm like mid-pack jacking it right now for sure. I think there was like 65 riders in this. I am like legitimately, I don't know, 30th or something. Dude, yeah. Like, you can see everybody's just, they're already rounding the corner, sprinting. And I'm like, you know, just now coming around. So I'm in like this weird little bubble in no man's land here. I'm like at the back of the main front group, but there's like also a pretty big group behind me. And so, yeah, I just come across the line. No big deal. But, dude, not involved in the sprint finish. That's fine because I was involved in the 2-3 sprint finish. So check that video out if you want to see a pretty solid result out of the boys. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, hit it with a like so you can pump the algorithm because YouTube loves me more if you do that. I will talk to y'all again soon.